So this week I've been to Oxford. I've spent a couple of days there with the Oxford Photographic Society, the invitation of Sandra and the group. It's been an excellent couple of days. And the first day I delivered a talk to them at their Wednesday evening camera club about my photography practice and about creating images and designing photo books. Then on the Wednesday, a group from the club and also visitors from my own photographers went to Oxford to create exactly that, photographs for photo books. And this video talks about why I took the photographs that I did and why I selected the photographs for the collaborative photo book that I'll make for the group. So we travelled in on the Wednesday. Sandra's husband Greg drove us in. There's a clean air zone in Oxford, so the traffic was relatively light, and Greg and Sandra's 4x4 electric powered, I think, car was ideal for the trip. Thinking back to that journey, I'm wondering now why I didn't take photographs of our trip. We caught the bus back, and I didn't take photographs of that either. And I also noticed on the road there was little paintings of cyclists which I've never seen before, but I didn't take photographs of those. I think it's always important to reflect on the images that you didn't take as much as the photographs that you did, so that in the future you can take those. So this is the set of images I took. I took just under 500, and what I was doing at this stage of the process is just collecting images. I'd done a little bit of research before I went. Our meeting point, which is a Wetherspoons, is called the Four Candles. And it's called the Four Candles because of the Two Ronnie sketch and the fact that Ronnie Barker went to school just a few doors away from where the Four Candles is. But that was the only research I'd done. What I like to do is get to the actual location, start to search for ideas that say something about how that area affected me and what impressed me about that area, what stood out, what stories I wanted to tell. What I then do is when I get back, I'll put all the images into Lightroom like you're looking at here, and then I'll star rate my initial selections. Now, by then, I've kind of worked out what I want to say. It is an interactive process. It develops the whole way through. And if we look at this image, this is what started to inspire my approach on the day. As we walked from Greg's and Sandra's car to the Wetherspoons, we walked through this Oxford Gloucester green outdoor market, and this wall mural caught my attention. I often wonder why they have particular wall art in an area. What does it inspire in people who walk past it and who notice it? Or even if they don't notice it, is it affecting how they subconsciously think about an area? I think it does. And here I saw all the colours. I saw the pictures of what looked like grates or houses, the trees, and then in the background I saw the colours replicated in the market. Or was the artist inspired by the colours of the market? That's what got me thinking. So let me now go into the rating system, and these were the images which I selected and starred with 1 star initially. So you can see the 2 stars that I'm going to show you in a minute. Let's just select them all. And what I'm going to do is just play through a slideshow. Now, I do this for myself, okay, as much as anything. This is the first thing that I'll actually do once I've made my selection. I simply do a slideshow in Lightroom, and I set it to music. I want to listen to the music as I'm looking at the images. I do change that music from time to time. And again, what I'm doing at this stage is thinking about why I took those photographs on the day, which I'm going to explain in more detail to you in a while. But let's just let this finish preparing the preview, and then let's just play through it. Should get there in a moment. Am I asking too much of Lightroom? Is it going to crash? So we all take photographs in different ways. I kind of call that visual language. How do you want to tell the stories that you're seeing and building? But I think this idea of building stories, however you visually communicate it, is what binds photographs together. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for sets of images which say something about my time in a location. And always in the back of my mind, I've got this idea that I love the idea that somebody in 50 years' time might be looking at my photographs and experiencing a moment in time with me. So, how did I feel about this Gloucester Street Market in Oxford on this day in October? Well, I like to search for keywords. Keywords is something which writers will often use in academic papers, and I find it really helps me in connecting photographs. And on this day, I saw the colours, so colours was a key word for me. I also saw the social interactions, how people interacted with each other in the market. It was very vibrant. There was a lot of energy about. During the day, Russell asked me about this concept of connecting photographs. And if I just take off the ratings just for a moment, and we happen to be standing near the just-in-time waffles stand, for lack of a better word. And so we created a series of photographs around the waffle stand. This was the first one where I was creating what I refer to as an establishing shot. It shows a layered image. I focused on these two glasses in the foreground, which was a cafe opposite. I used this banner to link this scene into the waffles, and then you've got the individual here in the background, and so the photograph draws the viewer through into the different layers of that image. But it's all about the interaction of these two cups, or the glasses, but the glasses become a metaphor for the fact that we know two people were sat there at some point, at least two people, we assume. So this is a metaphor for engagement, interaction. So interaction was the second key word that I was using on the day. And these keywords evolve as I walk through the landscape early doors. Natalia also asked me, this is Natalia here, and as I'm watching people walk about and walk, I'm getting a feel for how they act and how they react. And I think this image there, whoops, where's it gone? This image here really captures the excitement that I noticed that Natalia experiences throughout the day. She captures something she really likes. So this interaction between people and also the interactions of individual people become important to me. If we scroll down, you can see some of the images that I was capturing during the day. So we were talking about photography, and this one shows how two people are interacting with each other, discussing the photographs that they were taking or how they were taking the photographs. Scroll through further, you can see how I'm capturing these couples all the time. And it was Natalia who asked me about using panning, and what I was doing in the morning was helping people create stories and bring pictures together, and then in the afternoon we were looking at the camera craft, how you can use things like apertures and shutter speeds and depth of field and focal lengths to actually visually communicate what you want to say. So we did a session on panning, and what I was doing there really was capturing the energy and the speed of the area. So if I bring on now my 2 stars, so what I next do is create a set of images which are my 2-star selection. So I'm just going to do that slideshow again. And say the slideshow is where I'm trying to get a feel, even a deeper feel, for what I'm trying to say about this area. So that first image, I was thinking more about the front page. So at the moment, I've got the images down to 14, and the brief is 10 images per workshop attendee for the collective photo book. Now, what I'm looking at here is this first image is actually an image which I'm viewing for the actual front cover potentially, because that's how I took it. If we look at that, let's just bring that up as an individual picture. There we go. If we look at that, we've got this beautiful space here to put some words. So the front cover of the zine, I'm thinking about that as I'm taking the photographs. And if you imagine this as a front page photograph, you've got this big set of big block of image there, which is perfect, and then this space here. So as we design the front page, we can put the title of the photo book in there. This image there is one of my favorites, I think, because I'm talking about interactions, and we've got this gentleman there almost in solitary thought, and then we've got these two ladies there interacting with the sweet corn. You can't see sweet corn. I did take a photograph, if you remember, of them picking up the sweet corn. And then we've got this really interesting item here, which is the handle of one of their trolleys, and I then zoomed in on that, and I'm thinking about here as the back cover of the zine, because it's quite an interesting shape, and then we've got the market behind it, and then we've got this bugle. What do we want to shout about this market? As we go through, I love this photograph. It's Ian, who is the chair of the Oxford Photographic Society, and we can see that he's shooting with a film camera. This is a Nikon F. It's one of the cameras that I first started with back as a press photographer. And I love this connection, or at least Ian is connecting, and we can see the lady at the moment is looking down at the produce, but they're talking, and I just love Ian's smile there. It just really said something about the market that day. It was fabulous. the more you shoot, the more luck you get. And I love the shape of this image where we've got these two students. Oxford is a centre of education. I spoke to a few students that day and said, why have you come to Oxford? Many of them had come from abroad, and they just said, because it's Oxford. And I love these two students walking towards me here, but I also love these people in the background, the four people. So we spoke about layered images, depth of images, where there's different points of interest. And here we've got the two walkers, the three, and then a fourth one. And then the depth of field. This is where the aperture and the focal length really work for us to focus attention where we want people to look. This image here, I just love. I was watching Natalia take some photographs, and I saw this mirror on the blue just-in-time van, and I could see my hands, and the photograph just seemed to happen where it looks like it's Natalia taking the photograph, but actually they're my hands. And I think sometimes photographs don't actually have to give the whole story away. Maybe they can raise questions for the viewer, and maybe that's when people really spend longer looking at a photograph. And I use the same mirror to see these two people in the background eating. And then you have this solitary figure there. This was when we were having lunch, so these are some of the attendees. And here we've got the hands, and there we've got these two hands here, which really made that photograph for me. And then we've got a third hand there, so the expression of hands. We could actually crop this in, couldn't I? Let's just see what that looks like for a moment. So somebody asked me during the day, do you crop photographs? And I try not to, but if it really helps the picture, I will. And one of the beauties of, in fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come out of that for a moment, and I'm going to duplicate that image, create a virtual copy, which is something that I often do so that I can compare what I've done with the original. So let me just zoom that in, because this photograph here, I was trying to capture the busyness of the market. How many people were there? Let's just view these side by side now. Yeah, I actually prefer the cropped version. Now that might not go up to 30 inches by 20 inches, but I'm pretty confident that in the book it will look really nice, really good quality. So again, I'm looking at these hands, and even Ian's hand there, it really makes that photograph for me. So in fact, thinking about the hands, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more there, so that Ian's hands become more important in the composition. Yeah, that's the photograph for me. Then we move on to this energy, the movement, the panning, and I've got a few shots there which I really find engaging. There we're back to Ian again, and we can see the whole world of colours moving around him. This is where, instead of panning, and you can see that I'm using a 15th of a second, so slow shutter speed, I've just tilted the camera left and right during the exposure just to capture that movement. And this is another pan shot at 15th of a second, and I could see the bus coming along, and I could see the people walking fast. They weren't really actually running for the bus, but it makes it look as if they were. And I'm saying something about the fact that buses and cyclists are becoming the norm in Oxford. Natalia stopped these two girls, or didn't stop them. She walked round the corner and saw them swinging and playing and started taking photographs. And I'm really looking forward to seeing those. And I photographed the interaction between them. Then I crossed the road because I could see this reflection. So at this moment in time, what I'm looking at is the interactions of people, the colours and the reflections using those mirrors. And that will bind my photographs together. It will create a cohesive set of images. The next stage, which I'll do in a later video, is write some words that kind of help you share my journey that day through this market in Oxford. And then I'll also show you how I've put them into a zine. connecting the images so that when you turn the page, the new photograph that you're looking at has some sort of connection to the previous photograph. And I hope what this video has showed you is how throughout the day I've been thinking about what images I'm going to take and how I'm going to take them to visually communicate the experience that I felt on that day. Thank you for watching.